Welcome to the Science of Tree Felling series. In this video, we're going to talk about the reactive forces that you have to be aware of when operating a saw. These four reactive forces are push, pull, kickback, and attack. Push and pull are the easiest ones to think about. So if you can see on the top side of this bar, I have arrows drawn in the direction that the chain is going to rotate around the bar. Push means that if you are engaging wood on the top side of the bar, as Newton taught us with his principles of equal and opposite reaction, if the chain is going this way and it's going to encounter resistance from the wood, that energy is going to try to push back at you as the operator of the saw. So the saw is going to push into you if you're cutting on the top side of the bar. And in doing so, it's perfectly all right to use the top side of the bar, and you should utilize the top side of the bar with regularity depending on your cut, but you have to be prepared for that reactive force. If you're not prepared to get pushed on by that saw when you push and use the top side of your bar, it is going to be a less control or an uncontrolled situation of the chainsaw, not something that you want to be in. So be prepared if you're using the top side of your bar to experience a push force on you as the operator. Conversely, if we're on the bottom side of the bar, we're going to experience a pull force. Again, the chain is operating in this direction, and it's going to want to pull you as the operator in towards the piece that you're cutting. So again, be prepared. And this is talking about that stance, having that powerful stance and being prepared for the reactive forces that you're going to feel. Having that stance and understanding that when you're using the bottom side of this bar, it's going to pull you into the piece. So as an operator, it's going to jolt you forward and pull you into the piece. You need to be prepared for that reactive force and resist it so that the saw can do the cutting and you do not become off balance. We'll talk about and show bore cutting method in a later video, talking about tree felling plan and the tree felling itself. But this front area of the bar and chain is the most potentially dangerous one. This one, the reactive forces split themselves into these two hemispheres. On the bottom, we have the attack corner. And the attack corner is a great tool to be utilized if you need to push in or bore into wood. When you're boring into wood and you're beyond this halfway point of the tip of the nose of the bar, it will grab and pull itself into the wood and enter in a fashion that you can actually push through, kind of like a drill, and punch a hole into wood by boring into it. Now conversely, and the most dangerous corner of the saw is this location on the top corner of the bar. We call that the kickback corner. And the kickback corner, you can see, actually will cause the whole bar and chain to kick back violently towards you as the operator should you ever encounter this corner of the bar. Now, we have to again remember Newton's principles equal and opposite reactions. And I'm going to show you exactly what's going on here and why we call this the kickback corner and how it works. And I think this is something that we all need a little bit more education on because it's a little bit difficult to conceptualize unless you actually experience the kickback, which tends to be very aggressive and violent. So what we have happening here, in a way to demonstrate of what is going on, is as this cutter is entering into that kickback corner, it's going to be encountering wood. Now, when we're either on the top side or the bottom side of the bar, as it interacts wood, the amount of wood that I'm going to be cutting is a function of the distance between our top plate here and our depth gauge here. This distance difference develops the cut of the chip, or the width or the thickness of the chip. In general, it should be set, if you've honed your saw properly, to about 25 thousandths of an inch, which, based on your power head and a sharp chain, and any type of wood species, should be plenty enough power to able to cut, grip, and rip through 25 thousandths of a chip of wood. Now, if you think about it, the more wood that you're trying to ask and cut and grab is going to be the more force and the more resistance that that cutter has to overcome to get through that wood. Maybe you don't have the force to attenuate it. Maybe the power head doesn't have the power necessary to push and to cut that much wood. And that's exactly what's happening at this very tip of the bar we call the kickback corner. The kickback corner is going to cause this tooth here to round as it crests that corner. As it rounds, it's going to interact that same chunk of wood, but now it's interacting with a lot more wood than it's able to cut, grip, and rip. And as a reaction then, all that energy needs to go somewhere. If that chain can no longer rotate forward because it's encountered such quantity of wood that it just can't cut it anymore, all that energy is going to get pushed back into the saw, causing a rotational force that allows this saw to come up violently back at the operator. And hopefully, again, we talked about the ergonomics and stance and asymmetry of the bar and chain, and why this chainsaw is right-handed, so that when you're in proper operation, should the saw ever kick back, the plane of the bar and chain should be outside of the plane of the operator, causing no damage to you. But knowing that this is here and knowing to avoid this kickback corner is your first line of defense. Knowing how those reactive forces operate against the saw and preparing for them is going to be your best bet against any type of injury. So with that, now you know the reactive forces of the saw. On the top, be prepared to get pushed back. On the bottom, be prepared to be pulled into the piece. Using the attack corner, you can actually bore into and punch a hole through any type of wood. And the kickback corner, the very most dangerous, where you're going to ask the saw to cut more wood than it's capable of cutting, is going to have to send that energy somewhere. And that energy is going to come back at you in a rotational force. Now again, this chainsaw, when at full speed, is operating at about 70 miles an hour. So anybody who's going to have to attenuate one of these kickbacks is going to have to attenuate a rotational speed of over 70 miles an hour when this thing comes flying back at you. I am not very good at sports, and it's very difficult for me to catch a slow pitch ball, let alone razor blades flying at 70 miles an hour. I do not want to be in the way of this thing. So with that, now you know the reactive forces and how to operate and attenuate those forces safely. Hey, if you like these videos and you found something interesting or learned something today, make sure you like and subscribe and continue watching this series. There's a lot of really good videos on here on how to become better. Maybe you're already skilled in tree felling or arboriculture, but it never hurts to hear another person's perspective and learn a little something along the way. So again, if you like what you're watching, like and subscribe and keep on to the next series. See you next time.